Good day, radio friends, and those listening via our YouTube channel. It's a delight to be with you on Marriage Encounter today. We are grateful for the opportunity. We are going to be continuing our very interesting discussion, which we started last week, setting boundaries on your own character. And we have a very exciting discussion for you lined up today. With me in studio is Dr. Braithwaite, and of course on St. Kitts, we have Pastor Staton Adams. Good day, Dr. Braithwaite.
Good day, radio friends. Always a joy to be on Marriage Encounter with you. We're looking forward to another excellent discussion as we continue from our last discussion, and hope that you're all excited. Remember to give somebody a shout and remind them that Marriage Encounter is on.
Pastor Adams, good day. How are you doing?
Good morning. It is pretty fine in my neck of the woods here. It is sunshine, no rain. It looks to be a beautiful day. I am glad to be with you this morning after my absence last week, and I'm looking forward for this conversation as well.
Yes, indeed. We missed you last week, but we're happy that you're here. And that the reception, while not 100%, is much better than it has been. So we will work with this by the grace of God. Well, we want to have a word of prayer. Dr. Braithwaite, lead us in prayer, please.
Father God, we're thankful. It's another wonderful day and another opportunity just to share our thoughts and to be guided by you. Be with those who are listening. Give us a wonderful sitting, we pray in Jesus' name.
Amen. We are talking about setting boundaries on your own character. Now, Dr. Braithwaite, you started this discussion last week all by yourself, of course.
For a moment.
For a moment, that is, until I joined.
Yes.
And what a discussion it was. Now, we are at the stage, I remember when we ended last week, we were saying, we're now getting into the meat of the discussion.
Right.
And so we are happy that we are here back. For those of you who are listening on, of course, we do have some rebroadcasts Thursday afternoons at, is it 6:30? I think.
Yes.
And of course, on Saturdays at 2 p.m.
Yes.
on SLC Adventist, and also on Second Advent Radio. That's correct. Pastor Harris was just indicating, signaling that, yes, don't forget Second Advent Radio. To all those of you who are out there on the highways, the buses, the vehicles, in your offices, we understand that there are lots of people who listen from their workstations. We are delighted to have you with us. We're talking about marriage. We're talking about setting boundaries on your own character. And we ended this way last week, Dr. Braithwaite, that the spouse of someone who is growing spiritually should be better off, not worse off.
That's correct.
So, if you claim to be walking with God and having a good relationship with God, that should aid your marriage. It shouldn't break up your marriage.
Correct. And in the discussion we've been having, Pastor Adams, we've been looking at these character traits or our character. And, specifically as we look at boundaries, we're looking at our own weaknesses of character. So we recognize that we're not perfect. We have our own shortcomings and our own weaknesses. And as we set boundaries on those, it's one of the most loving things that you can do in your marriage, to acknowledge your challenges, acknowledge your weaknesses, set boundaries on them and desire to improve. Even if you're in a scenario where your spouse may not be at the same level as you, may not be desirous of improving in the way that you do, you got to continue that journey. Yeah. Pastor
Adams, you're with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. All right. We want to make sure. You're very quiet there just now. Mm-hmm. Well, Pastor Adams, I want to come over to you now because there is a quote from Cloud and Townsend. It says, when we look at our own character issues, we cannot will ourselves to maturity. Now, I find this is very interesting. So can you pick up on that and expand on it a little bit?
Very, very profound statement. And as we look at it, because we have to understand that while the institution is perfect, the people who are involved in the institution, they are not perfect. So we will always have character issues to deal with. And that's a given. And that is why I like the statement you made earlier, that the one who is growing in their maturity and spirituality and maturing in their character should not take a better than thou condescending position as opposed against the spouse who might not show the evidence of growth and maturity. Remember that all of us may not mature the same way, but the work of marriage is really for maturity. And one cannot attain to maturity by his or her own self. We need both of us in that situation. And I always like to share from my own experience. You would think that I am a pastor and I am supposed to be the spiritual one who is stronger spiritually. But I can tell you, I share this openly with my clients and those who I talk to, particularly in preventing seminar. I don't come across as though I am so high and mighty and holy and ready for translation. There were times when my wife showed stronger faith and spiritual maturity in some things than me, who is the pastor, right? And I benefited from that. So you do not look down on the other person condescendingly. One cannot attain to maturity by him or herself. We have to help each other to grow. And therefore, if you are in that position of strength, then you are going to use that position of strength where you are at right now to help me to grow. I may not be growing as fast as you would wish, but the love that you bring to bear, and I think Southern Council shows this, and it goes back to why we are married. And there's something else in this section here that is tickling my emotions, and I am so anxious to get to talk to that. But the growth, the process of maturing is not at the same pace. And we can look at even the secular realm. I'm an agriculturist. Some plants mature faster than others. And in the same thing, if we apply that principle, right, we have to encourage each other. And that is what Paul was talking to, build each other up. That is what Paul was talking to in Ephesians, right? And so we have to have the and part of the subset of love is the patience that we have to have with each other. You know, love is a composite of several ingredients. It is care, it is concern, there is patience, there is trust, there is honesty. All of these things are there, right? And so we have to keep working with each other, remembering that this is a school. It is from the marriage hour that our work really begins, right? It is really the work of the after years. The lifetime of marriage, it is really the work of the after years. After we've gone to the altar and say, I do, we have signed the documents. And so the work of marriage is the work of after years. And so this is the work part that we're talking about here. You can't want the blessings of marriage, not be willing to do the work of marriage. And part of the work of marriage is we are to help each other to grow.
That's right. It's a partnership. You said a mouthful there. We can't expect to have a young seedling and get food from it. Right. You know, it's a process, and the maturity, the whole idea. I want to go back to the concept of partnership, because as we help one another in the maturity stage, we have a privilege of our spouse looking at us, seeing us, understanding us better than anybody else can. And willingly and lovingly correcting where there needs to be, constructively, and guiding. And so when we are vulnerable with one another, it helps the process. That is indeed wonderful.
Absolutely. Just to add to the discussion, the whole development of an individual is really a process. We go through, we're not born with all of the abilities. As a child, you learn to walk, you learn to speak. You're not born able to speak and able to walk. It's a process. And in the marital experience, it's also a process. We're not born perfect. We struggle with those character issues, and along the journey, we have to develop. We have to allow ourselves the opportunity to grow, to develop skills. And Paul speaks of the inability of the human being to, so to speak, how do you put it? We're unable to change ourselves. We can't do that. And the Bible is very clear that, the things that we would like to do, we don't find ourselves doing in Romans chapter 7. So it's a journey, and we have to avail ourselves as individuals to growing.
What I like about this, Doc, is that, and Pastor Adams, is that while we do not have the power to change some of the by ourselves, that is, the character flaws, we can participate in the process, and one of the beautiful things about this is that as it relates to character, because remember we're talking about setting boundaries on your own character. So if we can confront ourselves, our own pride and desire to be so perfect, and be truthful about our own weaknesses. A little while ago, Pastor Adams admitted that in some instances, he found that his wife was more spiritually mature in dealing with some issues than he was, though he is the pastor.
Right.
So that degree of honesty, where we can admit that we have faults, and speaking the truth about our faults and our failures, is a very positive thing that we can do in this relationship of character building.
Just before maybe Pastor Adams comes in, interestingly, Doc, we find that there are persons who do engage on a journey of development and maturity, whether spiritually or just character maturity. And when they find themselves on that journey, they become very judgmental of the other person, suggesting that the other person isn't growing, isn't doing anything. And, this is unfortunate in the journey of a growing relationship. Our responsibility is not to become judgmental of our spouses, because each of us have different growth patterns. Fruit trees grow, you plant two of them in the ground at the same time, and one gets really big really quickly, the other one takes a while. But the smaller one may be the sweeter one, you never know. But the bottom line is, as you grow through this journey, be patient with each other. As you look at your own character weaknesses and you attempt to improve, do not be critical of your spouse. It's a journey together.
So, Pastor Adams?
Yes, and that carries us to the concept of that there's a process, and that we cannot expect immediate perfection. And I think the author, if I go back to them right away, I'm running myself. We cannot play God and become judgmental. We cannot play God and become judgmental, to say, all right, I am here and you are there, and therefore, I have something on you.
Sometimes the mic is a little away from you, Pastor. So if you could just get the mic a little closer to your mouth.
All right. You're better now?
Almost too strong. Yes.
Yeah, I was making the point that it is a process, and that we cannot be judgmental and make ourselves gods. Well, the truth and fact, God himself doesn't even deal with us this way. He's so patient with us, growth experience, walk with him. I guess, and that is what, if we must really resemble him in character, then we must exhibit the same kind of a patience, tolerance, forbearance, forgiveness. All of these things are part of his character traits. And therefore, right? It is a process. And
Pastor Adams, if I may interrupt you a little bit, I can't resist the temptation here, because you said we cannot play God. And I kind of want to suggest that that's the very thing that many of us try to do unwittingly. And here is a character issue that, really requires setting limits. I am getting up early in the morning to have devotion. I'm going to prayer meeting every prayer meeting time. I'm always early in church, and I don't think my wife is exhibiting that kind of thing. And what do? I play God, and I say to her, "You're not spiritual. You need to do this. You need to do that." So this is something that we should not do, but something that we often find ourselves doing. And what I hear you saying is that we have to resist that temptation, to try not to assume that prerogative of God, because we are not.
Yes, exactly. We ought to set limits on our character in this regard of trying to play God. We think that,
Okay, your mic is fading again.
yeah, we have to set limits on our character and resist the temptation to play God. Actually, quoting from what the authors have said, right? That temptation we need to resist and set a limit on our character in this regard.
Right. So and Doc, that's what when we speak about setting boundaries on your character, it's the areas of your character. Just for those who are listening and may be wondering what we're really referring to when we say setting a boundary on your character, and particularly your character weaknesses. We're really saying, it's about attempting to limit how your maybe negative traits impact your relationship. So you're looking at it, you do some introspection, you recognize, look, I have this tendency of playing God because I think that I've got it right and my spouse isn't right, probably where I think they should be. And I'm becoming judgmental. I'm saying to them, look, you need to be where I am, sort of thing. And we're saying limit that, set a boundary to that. You need to get to the place now where you're saying, listen, I realize that I have this tendency, and rather than being judgmental, I'm gonna, love you. I'm gonna respect you. I'm gonna respect your choice, not to want to develop in the way that I want to develop, and that's your right. And when we can get to that point in our relationship, when we can mature to that level in our experience, and we appreciate each other just the way we are, it is a point in the relationship where you can really truly begin to enjoy each other because you have accepted the person the way they are.
I can just imagine somebody out there saying, that is not so easy. In fact, they may be even disturbed by that, because you mean that I shouldn't encourage my spouse to do better in his or her spiritual life? I shouldn't tell them. So again, this is a tendency we have, because when we do that, we're assuming that we're okay.
Right.
And if you assume that you're okay, you limit your ability to see your faults. We have to really ask God to help us. Here's a quotation. I kind of like how this says, by playing God, we miss the mark in loving, being responsible, and caring about the welfare of our spouse. Because now you're being judgmental. You're not helping, but you're judging. You're almost saying you're a failure. You need to do better than that.
Right.
I almost want to punish you if you don't do that. And we have to resist that temptation.
Right, correct.
So what else do we need to do? We mentioned resist this temptation to play God. What are some other areas that we need to give attention to?
Well, we can also look at the area of denial. When we do not admit the truth about who we are, we give our spouse no one with whom to connect. And so, you're not admitting, you're denying the truth about who you are. That's one of the other areas, denial. I don't have it all together. I do have flaws as well. I do have shortcomings. And in the context of this relationship, my desire should be that we do grow together. But as the Bible says in 1 John 1 and verse 8, if we claim that we are without sin, we deceive ourselves, right? So, if there's a husband out there or a wife out there, you've been going through the grind, you've been having your struggles, and you're thinking, this sounds kind of like my situation. I'm in this relationship with my spouse, and I always feel like I'm the wrong person. I'm always doing the wrong stuff. I can never get it right. Maybe the other spouse needs to determine, am I denying my own shortcomings and trying to big up myself, sort of look good in front of my spouse? But the truth is, I have challenges as well. I'm denying it.
Well, Pastor Adams,
yes,
I find...
Yes,
Go ahead. I was going to ask you, but maybe you're responding to it. Go ahead.
To extend on that, because you see, when we do that, we are taking ourselves out of the pain that we are so infallible, and the only person who has claimed infallibility while being human is another person. But we are not infallible, and so that the author said that the opposite to denial is confession. You see, so that makes you, and you have to confess, and that is why the Bible says you have to confess our faults one to the other. That makes you, put you on a human level with this person that you're in this relationship with, and it extends even beyond the boundaries of marriage. I had to You have to confess and say that I didn't see it this way. My judgment on this, my take on this was wrong. You know, so people see you as perfect, as a normal human being who have shortcomings and faults and all of the human foibles. So if we deny that part of our character, that we don't have any faults, we don't have any shortcomings, we don't have any weaknesses, then it takes us out of the realm of humanity. Because to be human, I have had to confess and to apologize and to talk to people groups. I had to confess to my church board. I had to confess and apologize to members. I didn't see it this way. It was my fault. I was wrong doing this or making this suggestion or taking this action. People appreciate you more and see that you are normal, that you're a normal human being. And I guess this is what the author was saying, that something happens in that relationship the minute we begin to stop denying and behave that we are human, because I might be exhibiting these traits today, but tomorrow you might exhibit something that beckons or call for or attention or immediate action in the union. So we have to understand that you know, as we say in a certain terminology, today for me, tomorrow for you. Yeah.
When Pastor Braithwaite introduced this section of denial, he said that when we do not admit the truth about who we are, we give our spouse no one with whom to connect. And I felt that, you know, in addition to all the wonderful things you've just shared, that there is another point that we need to look at. Because if I am insecure, but I hide my insecurity from my spouse, then my spouse is, I'm false. And my spouse cannot truly connect with me, cannot truly help me, because I am pretending to be who I am not. So not only am I interfering with my spouse's ability to help and nurture me, but I am also putting myself in the position where I can't get help from the one who should be helping me, because I'm not showing them my real true self. And I think that
Right.
is a struggle for many people, you know, this whole matter. And this is why I like this topic, this matter about our own character flaws, admitting that we're wrong, admitting that my perspective was not correct. And I'm sorry, I misled you, or, you know, sometimes you may have even argued with your spouse. This is the way it should go. And then when it fails, a lot of times what we do is that we make excuses. We say it's because of so-and-so, rather than just admitting that we were playing out wrong.
Right. Or sometimes not even acknowledging that something went wrong. You just kind of ignore it and pretend that it didn't happen. I think Pastor Adams was making a very, very solid point in terms of, you know, and you kind of highlighted it again, Doc, when you speak about the ability to connect. When you can connect with somebody, you feel like you can move forward with the person. I mean, I'm sure all of us have been in conversations where you're sharing a point, a perspective on something, and somebody, you know, joins and says, yes, you know, I observe it, I see it, you know, and I recognize that particular position, and it gives you a little more confidence. And in your relationship, you know, as you look at matters, as you look at issues, you know, the ability to allow yourself to be real, and your spouse says, wow, you know what, I can appreciate that, I can connect with that, I can see with that, even if it's something that might not be so exciting, something that might, you know, from your perspective may make you feel like, you know, you've let down somebody. But at the same time, you know, the ability to be honest and not to deny the truth about yourself is really, really critical.
Pastor Adams made another point there when he shared that the opposite of denial is confession, right? Owning up to our insecurities, our failures, our faults. And somebody may be wondering, why are we emphasizing failures and faults? And we're doing it simply because we're human beings. And if we deny these realities, then we are interfering with the maturing process. What should be the natural maturing process of the relationship? Remember earlier on, Pastor Adams, you made a reference to the fact that marriage is the work of the after years. You go to church, you know, everybody put so much energy and effort into the wedding, and after the wedding we have a marriage, which is supposed to be something that we work on, we build, we mature, we perfect throughout the rest of our lives. And
it's a school from which we never graduate.
Exactly. If we are not willing to confess our faults and failures, we're interfering with how that process should develop.
Yes.
So let's move on, because there's another area. I don't know that we have enough time. In fact, maybe we just need to sum up, because I see that we have 2 minutes more. So the whole concept here. What is the takeaway? What is the takeaway, Dr. Braithwaite, of all that we have been saying?
Well, for me, it's really appreciating your own shortcomings. I think, and not, sort of beating your spouse over the head because they don't come up to where you think they should be. Just that acknowledgement as you put that boundary on your own character weaknesses, and I really want to emphasize that your character weaknesses, you are also engaging your spouse and giving them an opportunity to connect with you, because they recognize, hey, I'm not the only one with challenges here. We both have, and we can work on them together. So that would be my takeaway.
Pastor Adams, over to you.
Yeah, definitely. We cannot deny.
We kind of missed you there, Pastor Adams, for a moment. We heard you cannot deny.
Don't know what's happened.
I'm not sure what happened, Pastor Adams, but you kind of dropped out.
I dropped out?
Okay, go ahead.
I was saying that neither.
Okay, you need to get close to the mic. It's going and coming. Okay, definitely there's a little fault there with your microphone, Pastor Adams. So let me just wrap up here a bit. As I was talking about takeaway, I want to leave this point with us. We do not have to be perfect to be responsible. Some people believe that because, for example, and some men like to say, I'm the man of the house, so I have to get it right. But being the man of the house does not mean that you have to be perfect. Right. In fact, may I suggest that admitting failure is a part of perfection.
There you go. That's powerful. That's powerful.
And
yes.
That might require some taking away, but we're going to have to stay there for now, and we can pick it up from there, because this is all the time we have. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to write to us. Marriage Encounter at slcadventist.org. That's Marriage Encounter at slcadventist.org. Pastor Braithwaite, just our closing thoughts.
Well, as you consider your relationships, as you consider boundaries, as we've had this discussion going on for a while, always remember that the boundary is about yourself, and it's about protecting you, and in this context, your marriage. Do whatever you possibly can to protect your marriage, to protect your spouse, so that you can grow together and enjoy the bliss that God has in store for you.
Blessings until next week.